Welcome to Generational Workshop. Today I'm going to show you the porting on my Mazda Rotary for the Mutt. If you saw that short, this project is sort of taking a lot longer than it has because of the porting on this. Not that it's hard, it's just tedious. I'm used to porting like small block Chevys, Subarus, Nissans, all the normal stuff. You know, the normal stuff is pretty easy if you know what you're doing, and you can just keep it going. So, but on this stuff, it's a little different. Let me show you. So normally when you're porting, you have your basic tools like these, for doing your porting on your steel. If you're doing ferrous, non-ferrous stuff, you use some non-ferrous bits, and you're sitting there opening up a hole, and then you get into it with all your little wheels and you sand it nice and smooth. This is basically the same, but they give you little templates that you have to cut out because you're cutting out the side of the iron. This is called an iron on a rotary. And you have to open up the exhaust ports too. So this is your standard exhaust port. I have the new inlet in, or the outlet piece in it. And it goes from that to that, so there's your factory one, and then it opens up to the big one. That's not too bad. Doing the middle iron isn't too bad either. They give you a template, which I'll show you here in a minute, and you open up this hole and then you just pour it out. You open up on both sides. The fun part is when you're doing the outside ones. This is a 6-port motor out of an 86, and these have to get open, and you have to make these little cuts into these. This allows extra air, and this is basically like your camshaft, how big your cam and your valves will be to let stuff in. So this turns into this. And you see these tiny little holes, these tiny little grooves you have to cut in them. Well, you need to get special tiny tools for that. And if you've ever done detail work, you might have a set, but these take tiny little tools to get in there to do that. So first thing you do is you get a template. I bought a template. Here's the template. I bought a template from Mazda Tricks. Real simple. I mean, it's actually real simple. It's just tedious. So you take your thing, you put some Dykem on them, some impression zinc. You put your studs in it, or your dowels. You drop the template over the dowels, and it drops down, and you see we have our big ports here, so it lines up perfect, and then you have to cut these little holes out. On the other side is the other hole for the middle iron, which was pretty easy. That just enlarged it. But this one you have to, because you can't, there's nothing to start with, so you have to actually sit there and drill it out, a bunch of little holes, and then you have to connect them and port them. Now the problem, this is called a half bridge. A full bridge would be all the way across, but I'm doing the half bridge because I'm not looking to build a full race motor. I want something I can just cruise around with. And what happens is if you go outside these lines, there's a little side seal that runs right here as the rotor's coming around. And if it's too big, it'll get stuck into your port and destroy the side seals, which is what we don't want to do. So you start with this, you impression ink it, you mark it, there's my little marks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually drill it out and start porting it. We don't have to worry, and then when you do the side ports, let's see, on this one. So you'll see I ported the bottom side, haven't finished it yet, but I'm not doing the top side. That's because the top side actually gets a little sleeve that slides in here, because this is what they call the 6th port. So at high RPM, it would actually open this. It's like a VVT on like a Honda or any of that stuff. So basically when you hit a certain RPM, it actuated an actuator, and it opened this port up. Well, I got rid of those. It causes problems at low end, but I'm not going to be just idling around. I'm going to be racing this thing around, So what it does is I have a sleeve coming that goes in here and makes the air turn 90 degrees. I'll show you that when you get it. I'm getting that from Atkins Rotary. I watched a bunch of videos on this. Rad Potential is a great thing. Rob Dahm, he's another great rotary guy to watch. So I'm going to do a little porting, get it drilled out, and then I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, so I got all the holes drilled. I used a combination of 5/64, I think it was. Yes, 5/64, and then on the ends I was doing a 16th, and until the 16th broke. Yeah, 1/16 of a drill bit. So if that's 5/64, you can see that the port really isn't that big. It's a tiny little port. Now what I have to do is grab my tiny little tools and connect it all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe the dicom off, redo it, rescribe it, and and then I have a fresh line so I can see where I'm going. All right, so I got it cleaned up, re-dicomed. You can see the little scribe I have to get to that point. And through the process, I will, over and over again, open it up, clean it, dicom it, rescribe it, so I know I stay within. I don't want to, because see, like this line here really isn't that sharp. So what I'll do is I'll be working on this side, get that side done, clean everything, remark it, and go again. So here's your standard bit. And as you see, it's extremely big for the hole that we're trying to do. And then we have the little itty bitty tiny bit that's perfect. But of course I have a big giant tool to use it in. So that makes it real fun, because then it gets real heavy. And then the other thing is I don't have the greatest eyes, so I have to use some magnifying glasses so I can actually see what the hell I'm doing. So that's why it makes this really fun for me. All right, so I got it knocked out, got the rescribed, so there's our line. So we have to finish opening it up to that line. And it's very tiny, very tiny. If we put a ruler next to it, you can see that the port is just over 1/8 of an inch. So it's not that big of a port. It's very tiny to work with. Which is, it's fine. Like I said, it's just tedious, and I just got lazy and didn't want to do it. What I'll do is I will open this up a little more with my little grinder, and then I'll actually take my mini files that I have for doing delicate work and finish it all off. All right, so we got the little port done. It's a little wonky. I might clean that up a little bit. It's easier to actually see through the camera than it is through my glasses. So, but we got them cleaned up. We got the port all nice and polished. So we've done all of them now. Here's the other one. Got that one nice and polished. And we did the other intakes. So that's all done. Now we're going to start working on the exhaust. There's Shop Dog Sherman. So the exhaust, what you have to do is, I got the template from Racing Beat. This is their 13B race setup, and it gives you really good instructions on how to set it up. And you make a tape line, you dicom it, and then all you have to do is put the template on it and scribe it out. And you see how much actually comes out. So behind here, you actually take out more too. Normally there's an Inconel insert in the back that has a giant spacer or a giant little plate that goes in here. And was supposedly to quiet it down. Well, I went ahead and bought the titanium race ports for it. So they get slid in, they have to get pinned in. And so you can see how much more I have to take out. There's a giant lip down here, probably about 3/16 of an inch there, and about 1/8 of an inch up here. And then of course you got to blend it all in, and when you're all done, it looks like that one, which doesn't look too bad. So let's finish this last port off, and then we can start putting the motor together. All right, so we got all the porting done. It wasn't as bad as I made it out to be, and I should have just done it in the first place, but all the ports are done, the exhaust ports, intake ports. So now what I'll do is I will send this off to get cleaned, and then we can start assembling. And they assemble these funny, because like this is the front of the motor that goes onto the engine stand. And then all you do is stack these. So there's our first exhaust piece, or first cylinder. And then if I grab a rotor here, I'll show you this. Here's the rotor. Everybody talks about it. You know, these are the apex seals actually going right here that everybody complains about. But it sits in there. Ugh. Sits in there like that, and it just spins, just like that. So each side of the rotor is actually a cylinder. And so it pulls up the intake through here. So it'd be intaking, or it goes this way, intake, compression, power, exhaust. In the intake, out the exhaust port. So intake comes up, it has 2 spark plugs in it, has a leading and a trailing, and then fires, and then right out the exhaust. It's actually a pretty cool little setup. It ran real good. I just had a bad apex seal, and I knew that when I got the motor. So in the next video, we might start assembling it. Talk to you later. Remember, like and subscribe.